tripping.
This was a sound. This is gonna be a sound bite or a clip from the All Too World podcast. And this was sent in by one of actually our Tour Life crew members. Sent in this, said, "Hey, we got to hear what Uli has to say about this." So there's a little snippet from the Upshot, which is with Charlie Eisenhood. So Silas, go ahead and play that.
Paul Ulibarri was on his podcast with Brody, the Tour Life podcast, this past week sometime. I saw a clip on social media. Complaining about how Worlds is overvalued, basically, that like, why does one tournament determine our entire season? And like, this is too much emphasis on one event. And, you know, why is it this, like, we should value. Look, that sounds a lot like Cope from somebody who's never won a Worlds. I'm sorry. Like, at the end of the day, I do not believe that the person who wins Worlds is the best player of the season. That's not how that's not the metric in my mind. However,
if it was, this wouldn't be a discussion.
However, it is still the most important tournament of the season, and we all know that.
Yeah.
I know it. The fans know it. Everyone listening to this podcast knows it, and Yuli knows it. And you can complain about it if you want to, but like everybody knows that the stakes are higher because this is the most prestigious tournament that we play. It gets a 5th round because of that, because we want to crown the best.
Yep.
And, you know, it used to be a little too crazy with 9 rounds and like double shotgun starts in a day. And like, it was like too much, but I think we still retain this level of respect for the tournament itself. Now, do I believe that whoever wins is the, you know, world champion, like somebody who wins the NBA finals is the world champion of basketball or the World Series of baseball? By the way, the Phillies.
Careful.
I mean, like
you didn't. We got.
I don't believe that like that's the World Series and that's it, right? Like it's one tournament. It's sort of a silly name for a tournament that has never taken place outside of North America to call it the World Championships. But whatever. That doesn't matter that much. It is the most important tournament in disc golf.
Okay.
And we should give it the respect that it deserves.
Yuli, what?
This guy he just went in circles. What is he talking about?
Okay, so what's your you don't get to have this, right? You this feels incredible when someone comes after you, man. I freaking love it. So I'm going to let you have the floor. What do you have to say about that?
I think it's hilarious because, first of all, the one person who does know how important the World Championships is me. I haven't won it, but I hold it in the highest regard, just like every single player does in the entire planet. Is that correct, though? Is that correct? No. We play golf. We structured our entire sport around golf, which is paved the way through with 4 majors and then elite series, just like we have. We're going that route.
Mm-hmm.
Having one tournament that is by far and away the number one, the end-all, be-all tournaments of all time ever. It's to the point of this. This is, and hopefully Charlie's listening to this so he can really get in on the take. This is
we'll have to make it a clip because he doesn't. Here's
the facts.
All the clip.
Here's the facts. Okay. When I first started, the only way you could possibly make money is by winning that tournament. That has changed now. And it hasn't changed because more people have won the World Championships. It's changed because more people can get their name on a disc and then sell that disc more than anybody else who's won the World Championship. There are players that can do that. Not necessarily like the Paul Macbeth or maybe a couple other people, but I guarantee I'll throw Eric McCabe out, for example. Brody Smith can sell more discs than Eric McCabe, who has won the World Championship. It was the only way to get your name on a disc. It still is right now. It still is to get into like let's say like a Walmart or blah, 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 these different places. How is that a thing? You get one chance a year. Let's say you have a brilliant career and you play 15 years at the top level and just so happen that you don't get your one spot at the World Championships. Is that fair? Is that a fair thing? I don't think so. Let's say you don't win Worlds and you win 15 US titles, though, in that time. That person is not going to make as much money, especially back in the day, as the person who wins all the world championships. Is that fair? Another thing is the way that he goes around it and then says, like,
The name's stupid.
the name's stupid. Oh, well, they used to play 9 rounds of blah, blah, blah. But none of that matters. You already said it was the most important tournament. I agree. I 100% agree with that. It is the most important tournament. If I had to choose a tournament to win, I would choose the World Championship. Do I think that they should all be equal? Yes. That's just logic on my part of being around and competing at a high level for almost 15 years.
I might sound silly. What's the cope thing? Is that like some lingo that I don't understand? Because I thought like cope. I use coping as in like a coping mechanism.
He's saying I'm saying this because I've never won a world championship, so I'm trying to drag the world championships down.
Is that what kids are not? Is that what people are saying now? Cope? I've never heard cope.
I don't know.
Before.
But how about this? How about instead of thinking that I'm trying to drag it down, how about I'm bringing the rest of the majors up? How about that? How about we look at it like that instead of trying to like downgrade?
The only thing that would make sense to me, and a sport that like jumps out at me is like gymnastics, right? You could be the nastiest gymnast for 2 to 3 years, and then something happens to where you just lose it and you don't qualify for the Olympics. No one's gonna like the general public's not gonna know who you are. But everyone getting into gymnastics understands like that's what we're dealing with, right? Like the Olympics is above and by far the biggest event for gymnastics. That's where it gets put on a global scale. Now, sure, do they have world championships every year? Do they have other events every year? Yes, but those don't get the light that the Olympics does.
No.
If disc golf went to a format of where every tournament you got points and those points qualified you to get into the world championship, then I think I'd be completely fine with it. Because at that point, like every other tournament is just a qualifier to get into the world championship. And that should be the bread and butter. And everyone knows that. The problem is like, they're like, really, if we're really talking about like USDGC, if you brought an alien on and you told them like all the different things and you left out the name of what the tournament was called and you showed them all the different stuff with USDGC and with your world championship, but you left out the names, the alien is going to say the USDGC champion should be the one that's more coveted.
How about this idea?
I mean, that's true. It's harder to qualify for the USDGC championship. It's harder to get into the tournament.
How about we call the Pro Tour Point Series the world champion? If you win that, you're the world champion. It's done throughout the whole entire world. If you win the points, you're the world champion. We don't have to get rid of the name, and then we just have 4 majors, but you're the world champion. You've beat everybody the most consistent amount of times through the whole entire season. I don't know.
I want more people to come after you. I like that. That was fun sitting back and listening to that.
I do too. That's kind of cool. But honestly, if you got back to my main point, and I'll reiterate this. If you got rid of the world championship completely, there's no worlds, and you just replaced it with another major. Now you have 4 tournaments that somebody can wrap their career around and go after those. How does that not make sense?
No, it does. I mean, that's what tennis does. That's what golf does.
Exactly. That's all I'm saying.
Those are the 2 sports that we kind of should be modeling our, season schedule after.
And just to make Isaac happy, we'll make the point series the world championship so that we can still have that. And I can find other ways to cope.
There you go.